Douglas Kaluhio Kalani. I'm pretty sure I can say his name correctly every time now. And Doug, I see him laughing, so that's a good sign. Nice, good. But Doug is going to be introducing us to the adversary emulation side of things, feeling an attack. And I'm going to let him kind of introduce himself a little bit more. Very experienced guy. Greg, John, get ready for this. I'm going to bring Doug into the stream right now. Hey. Doug, welcome.
Hey, what's up? Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate it. I'm liking the shades, John. I'm liking the whole tropical
Thank
background.
you. Yeah, everyone was making fun of me. Like, this is not usually the John Hammond that we see.
Yeah, that's part of like continuum column. Yeah, what you guys were saying, like always going.
Always going, rain or shine.
Cool.
So, Doug, man, how are you? How are you feeling today?
I'm ready. Yeah, good. I was doing a bunch of things, scripting, all that, noting out. So it's favorite. And yeah, just excited for this. Thanks, guys. Thank you again, Anthony, Greg, John. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this year because Anthony and I and Level Effect are building out a lot of good projects. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Cooking, right? Yeah. So I guess this is something sort of around that content, perhaps. Doug, what's this workshop about, man? What do you got in store for us?
So yeah, this is about adversary emulation. I'm going to be going through and showing you guys the red teaming aspect of it. So run some scripts, and then also what is the result of that on the blue team side, on the victim side, and then what is a blue teamer going to do as far as like what they're seeing for alerts, triaging, and then like going from there, and
surprise guys in the background there,
and going from there, and then just going ahead and seeing how a defender is facing these attacks, and what it feels like.
Cool. So. Awesome. Well, we got a defender or an attacker in the background with you over there, Doug. If you want to go ahead and share your screen so we can get it tested out in the meantime, but it sounds pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it.
And this is just a taste of some advanced tactics. It's something obvious that a lot of red teamers already know. Can you guys see my screen?
I see it over here now. Yeah, looking good. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So this is who I am. Journey. Being Cyber Samurai.
No, we're gonna pop off then, man. Unless any other questions you want to fire with us or chat. Otherwise, we're gonna go that way off screen.
Cool.
Good. Okay. All right, let's do it.
Okay.
All yours.
Hey guys. So sorry. So I'm the founder, CEO of Cyberkata. I have over 15 years of cybersecurity experience. I also was in the United States Air Force, working in special operations, communications as a combat controller. I specialize in threat hunting and red teaming and blue teaming, TTP, so tactics, techniques, procedures. I've defended against APT nation state groups. It sucks. It is hard. So it's probably one of the hardest adversaries you will probably go against. But what makes me unique with my experiences is also the fact that for the past 3 years, I have been selected and part of a NATO cybersecurity.
I love you.
A NATO cybersecurity live fire exercise called Lock Shields. So yeah, and then I have the link down there.
Daddy, I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. And so an annual live fire exercise, and I'm the senior advisor for the past 2 years for the U.S. team. And so basically, the U.S. team goes up against simulated nation-state hackers and APT group, and we go ahead and defend against attacks. So it's insane. I think this past year, the U.S. team faced in 2 days 5,250 or 75 attacks in 2 days. So it was anything from like cobalt strike attacks, beaconing, lateral movement, etc. So it is intense, but it's supposed to be stressful. The requirements for this course, some of the prerequisites I ask is that you have an intro level of understanding of cybersecurity fundamentals, because we all know that cybersecurity integrates into everything IT. Some people may argue, that that's not true, but it's true. If you think about what is cybersecurity, what are you defending? If you don't know your IT environment, if you don't know your critical assets and how to identify that, or even what is the critical services or applications on a computer, then how can you protect it? If you can't defend a network and you don't know what a network is, how can you defend
I
it?
don't want to watch this.
Sorry.
So
So yeah, if you haven't gone through,
slide.
if you haven't gone through the intro level, then I would suggest Level Effects SOC 100 course as an intro. And then, yeah, so have a test computer handy or a virtual machine spun up. You also want to be familiar with the MITRE attack framework. And then you also want to be aware of different exercises, techniques, procedures that the red team or simulated attackers will use. Yeah, and then have an open mind as you're going through this workshop about everything and have fun. It's something that is designed for you guys
I don't want. I do want white.
to go ahead and
I don't
experience
want that.
a
I don't want that super white.
to experience a attack and what it feels like. So yeah, preparing a malware attack.
I don't want the Wi-Fi one. I want the super white.
And then you want to set the stage for it.
Super white.
You want to set the stage for it for the attack. Sorry. So what we're going to be going over today, real quick. This is intro and a simple introduction into advanced tactics. For those that are red teamers like Anthony and John and Greg and others, there's a reason why simple reverse shells work. Even now, you'll see in the news like so many organizations are being hit with a bind shell connection or a reverse bind shell because it still works, because they still have vulnerabilities and they're not going back to the basics of checking what is open in my environment. What are some of the critical assets that are beaconing out, possibly, like the application services, what can be discovered from the internet, from the outside. So bind shell is attacker connecting to the server from the outside. A reverse shell is from the inside, establishing connection to the attacker. Today we're going over a reverse shell and then also Mimikatz. I know, this is 30 minutes, but if you want to ask me questions afterwards, go into it, feel free. Why are we doing this? We're doing it to give you a sense of the attacker's perspective and also the victim or the defender. What is the blue teamer going to see as far as alerts and attacks? And then how does that feel with all of these different things going on, these different types of attacks and connections? So this is the lab, setting up the machine. Here's module 1. And then I can actually show you here. If you guys can see it, I already have it prepped. So you want to create 2 different Kali terminal sessions. You want to use Kali Linux, obviously. And then what you're going to do is just go into MSF console. You're going to go ahead and set one terminal up using Venom, and you're going to go ahead and create the reverse TCP on Windows. And then all of these scripts and commands are in the course as well. But the Python, you want to set one up to go ahead and set up a HTTP server on port 80. So it's going to be listening, and then we already have it established because I have one set up. And then the other, the other terminal right here is going to be the one that will create the shell once a connection's been established and the payload's been executed. So you go through, this is setting it up. You do ifconfig if you don't know the IP address. You want to set the payload, the listening host, the listening port. The default for an interpreter that you'll even see in the real world is 4444. Usually if you see that port or that alert as a, hey, this is a port that's being used, it's usually an indicator of an interpreter, which is very loud and for obvious reasons. You run the exploit. The victim machine, you want to go ahead and make sure that, well, the virtual machines will already be configured for it, but you want to make sure that defenders turn off because it will block all of it. It does a good job. But what that looks like is this. So this is mine. So you download it here, and then you're going to go ahead, keep it. It's going to ask you, keep anyway. But I already have one opened up. So once that payload, that executable has been activated, it's going to go ahead and set up the session as you see here. Serving HTTP on port 80, it establishes the connection, get not a payload.exe. So it established the connection. And then over here, you have the exploit running. So it's waiting and it's ready to go with the shell. Once you have a connection, I'll show you what that looks like. Once you have the connection, you will see this. So you'll see the exploit right here. Started reverse TCP handler on this IP address, and then it establishes the session. The session obviously is going to, based on how many sessions were opened and connections were created and shells, it's going to go ahead and increase that number, obviously. And then from there, I can go ahead and show you guys. So I have it pulled up. I can do a shell here. And you guys are still seeing my screen, right? Bam. And then from here, so make sure. No, that's why. So bam. And then keep that. And there you go. So that right there, I wasn't moving on mouse. Obviously, you guys could see. And from the attacker side, I had control. I already had the shell opened up to the victim. And then from there, I was able to run commands. You saw me do Douglas first and then Kuya Carney. And then without, the victim doing anything, it was a sign indicator that somebody else was able to run commands to the machine. So that is because the connection was already created and we're already here. So performing reverse shell attack for the injections, they've already ran commands. They have a persistence. They have a backdoor. So the detection and defense, what you guys are going to be doing is you guys have the VM. So when you go into it, you can go ahead and go into, you're not going to see all this. You'll see, you can go into Internet or Internet Edge, Microsoft Edge, and then you'll go ahead and pull up Elastic. And you guys can go ahead and test out the alerts and see like some of these alerts and connections being established. So I also dropped some other malware. I dropped Mimikatz on the box as well. And so I can zoom in. You may have to zoom out if the screen doesn't show the words. But if you go to in Elasticsearch, you'll go to the left pane, you'll go to security, and then you go to dashboards, detection response, and then you'll see the alerts pop up of malware that was detected. May have to zoom out a little bit, but it's going to be at the bottom. Go to alerts. There we go. There we go. So I had to zoom out a little bit, but from here you can see malware detection alert. And then if we go ahead and analyze this event, it gives you a rundown of the timeline of the event and the malware. So in this instance, I also dropped Mimikatz right here. So this Mimikatz was dropped on the victim's machine as well. And this is Elasticsearch showing you, okay, this is the timeline. This is what happened with Mimikatz. There's the 7-zip. Q is the persistent Mimikatz executable. So we have Mimikatz right here running. And then what we can do is we analyze it. And then from there, we can go ahead and create a new case for it. If we go to cases, I already created one. So you create a case for investigation purposes, evidence. You want to gather as much evidence about the malware. You want to see if it's active. What is it doing? Is there a connection? Does somebody have a persistence on the box? In this instance, yes. So if you do see a connection, you want to see, okay, well, what are the words showing you? Is it showing you that 4444 is popping off? Well, it is. So you want to go ahead and make sure that the defender, your EDR tool, is stopping the connection. So you might want to isolate the box. When you isolate the box, you pretty much cut it off from all external connections and tunnels that may be open. So going through this, you want to go ahead and follow the MITRE ATT&CK framework of the attacker's mindset of, okay, well, he has persistence. He went ahead and dropped malware. Okay, well, what else is happening with it? So yeah, and then you want to use Elasticsearch. You want to stop the attack from happening. Payload inspections. So you can use CyberChef to go ahead and translate the SHA-256 hash. So if you want to see what the hash length is, the byte length, how large it is, you'll see it here. And then you have the virus total. So if you pull up virus total and then you drop the file, then you can go ahead and see, okay, well, what is the file doing? What is the behavior? What's the detection? What's the details? So you see that there. And then you create the case. And then from Kibana, you can go ahead and create an exclusion rule to go ahead and block it. So you can go ahead and block this alert. You can go ahead and tell it, okay, well, this is Mimikatz executable. Go ahead and block all indicators of this malware from being dropped. So yeah, and then if you want to run through, I'll put in some more links and build it out. But yeah, you want to throw it into a sandbox and see what does this malware do and have it explode. What damage does it cause? What is it? Where is it going? How nasty is it? So when you do it in a sandbox environment, in a virtual machine, it's safe. You can go ahead and look at the inspection of the file itself. What is the malware integrating into? Is it like a rootkit? Is it a bootloader? Where is it going? Where is it beaconing out to? And then once you have all of that evidence and you can see it happening, then you can go ahead and learn and reverse engineer like malware analysis. What is this piece of malware? How is it tied to, like, let's say a rootkit or ransomware? You know, how does it fall within the spectrum of types of attacks? Yeah, and so the environment is definitely different based on the types of attacks. So what you're going to be facing, you have to identify what is the attack. You have to identify where is it coming from. Is there a connection established? Can you see what they have a foothold of or what stage they're at? And then if you know the MITRE attack framework, you know where they're going to be going next. So if they weaponize, they've already gotten into the network, you know they're going to probably try to do lateral movement and get root privileges. So yeah, that is a simple, short version of testing it. And both sides. I mean, obviously, this is a simple, high-level view of a advanced tactic, but there's a reason why it works. There's a reason why we see every day somebody's clicking on a phishing email. Somebody has a single sign-on to multiple machines or workstations that's been open for months. I've seen it. And they have weak credentials. So that means if this sysadmin gets popped, then the attacker has access to 5 or 10 different machines as well, because that tunnel's still established. If you have a cloud DevOps person that has an open tunnel from the work environment, from the cloud, from the work environment to a home location, I've seen that as well. And it's bad. These mistakes will go ahead and help an attacker go ahead and make it so much easier for them to get in. And that's why some of these simple attacks, like a reverse shell, a bind shell, clicking on a payload like you see here, will go ahead and allow them to get in easier. That's why it still happens. Or outdated systems, like a Windows XP, where you're using SHA-1 hashes and encryptions for your SCADA systems or your manufacturing or your critical assets. You'll see that a lot in manufacturing ICS sector, organizations where they sometimes have outdated systems and outdated encryption, like SHA-1, on their most critical assets. It's because they can't take it down. The machines are 24/7. They don't have proper microsegmentation, etc. So all you need is that one time the bad guy gets in through an open port. Now he just hits all of your manufacturing machines because they're on an outdated encryption type, and now they can get in and have a persistence on everything. Yeah, and then so I think lessons learned will be, if you are not able to see both sides, red and blue team, at your current level, then you can go, how can you make a positive effect? So
Where we're going, Daddy?
we're at home. So what will be your cyberkata? Basically, yeah, I mean, this is
Daddy, where we're going now?
we're at home. So
Daddy, where we're going now?
if you can't see both sides of it, then you need to go ahead and get to the level where you are seeing both red and blue teams. So
Where's mommy?
thanks.
Where's mommy?
Hi.
Where's mommy? Where's mommy?
There we go. Let's get the mute off over there.
All right.
Let's hop in here. The whole gang together, including additional threat actor in the background. Greg, John, what'd you think of the workshop?
I'm in love with his kid. I think he was the cutest part of that presentation. No, I really liked it. I think you hit on some salient points, right? Looking at exercises like this, in a perfect world, we could say, update everything and patch everything. But, anybody who's been a practitioner for even a little bit knows business is business and money doesn't grow on trees. So there are assets and devices that are insecure. And I think that's really what a defender's job is how do you mitigate that risk, right? Like, a server's compromised, but that server makes thousands of dollars a minute. How do you keep it online without letting that malware continue to wreak havoc and or spread in the network, or the threat actor with hands on keyboards? How do you contain their activity to somewhere that's manageable while you contain and eradicate that threat while still letting the business do what it does? I think this hits on a lot of those points, and also gives people a chance to sort of take on the red teamer / blue teamer perspective. So overall, awesome. Looks like a lot of content.
Yeah, I agree on all those points. John, what about you, man? What was your take on Doug's demo?
I don't know. Something that kind of hits home for me is that a lot of folks tend to, not to say brush off or just kind of scoff at, a Metasploit or a Meterpreter thing. But I hate when they kind of put that poo-poo out and about, because, yeah, everyone wants to, use Sliver, use Mythic, use Covenant, use whatever hot, new, sexy C2 command and control framework. But when you boil it down, like, it still works. It does not matter what the tool is. It does not matter what your tooling is. As long as you make the same effect, you get the same impact. And for a lot of folks that I chat with, they'll be straight up. It's like, look, hey, I'm using Meterpreter, I'm using Metasploit. It works. It gets the job done, and it's still going to demonstrate everything that you need to. So I'm glad. I'm happy. I love to see it. Give Metasploit and Meterpreter some love.
There you go. Yeah, path of least resistance and business considerations, kind of with both of what you guys are saying right there. I fully agree with all that as well too. I thought it was really cool, Doug. I'm not sure if you got taken over by the threat actor there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. And so, yeah, I mean, for us that are more advanced and at that senior level that have been in cybersecurity, we've seen this. This is simple. It's something like, obviously somebody's trying to use Meterpreter. They're trying to use like MSS Venom. They're trying to create a shell. They're trying to get persistence and maintain it. This is like, really, come on, like, try harder. But this is a great example of, this is a simple attack. Like I said, a tactic that will work if somebody's not paying attention. If they have a lot of attacks going on, like a DDoS or different attacks going on, and if the IT team is not on top of their game, or the SOC team is not on top of their game, all it takes is one time, and now the attackers got in. And so I use this as a simple introduction to more advanced tactics that Anthony and I and Level Fact and hopefully John will go ahead and show you guys for an actual live fire exercise of, hey, you a really good threat actor like a nation state, a APT. Some of the things that I've seen in the NATO exercise, they are not just going to use this simple attack, but it will be one of thousands of different attacks happening at once. And so how can you go ahead and triage these different attacks? Like if somebody's dropping Mimikatz, if they have a reverse shell, if they're dropping like NotPetya, and like copies of NotPetya, all of these things, bootloaders, rootkits, how can you go ahead and triage 10, 20 different attacks when you're one person and you're a SOC analyst, like level 1? So it's hard, and so that's the idea, is to show you guys that are getting into cybersecurity or at that intro level. This will be something that you'll see if you know a simple attack, if you know a simple tactic, it will go ahead and branch off into different flavors. Once they have a connection of some kind, they can go ahead and start dropping more advanced payloads and bootloaders, rootkits. What does that look like? How do you see the indicators before it actually happens? How can you stop the attack and the progression? And for us as the red teamers, we can go ahead and check, okay, do they know this? Do they know that? Are they checking these vectors? If they're not, that's how we get in. Can we go ahead and drop a random admin account that looks very similar to the hundreds of admins on there? Why do they have 100, 200 admins that have access to all the IT systems or security tools. So
Fully, I really like everything you're saying over there, Doug. Like it doesn't have to be good; it just has to be effective, right? So you could do that overwhelming by force, or just trying to catch someone off guard. And then what you're saying, right? Like if we look at threat actor attack patterns and techniques, there's varying degrees of the, I guess, sophistication level, right? Like it could be simple, but then it could scale up quite significantly to apply other techniques in there: obfuscation, encoding, encryption, hiding different traffic signals and sources as well too, and threat operations, etc. There's quite a few things, but I love what you put together because it's something immediately to be very accessible to the crowd, to the chat. They can understand it right away with what you're doing, and I really like the step by step, showing it, feeling an attack. Hence the workshop's name.
Yeah, and it's quick.
Really cool.
If we can do it and you can spin it up in like 10-15 minutes, then somebody more advanced can go ahead, drop that really quick on top of the other things that are happening. And it's like, it's something quick, easy, but it works, like I was saying. So I think feeling that attack, knowing that somebody has control of your machine is also like unnerving and stressful. Somebody has control of your machine. So where are they coming from? How did they drop the payload? What else did they infect? What things are going on in your security tools like Elasticstack? And so you'll see that as well. As I showed, like you can see the whole timeline. But I could easily, branch this out into like a couple of hours and show you guys like, hey, this goes into this and this and this. But this is designed to be just a taste of things to come.
Yeah, definitely.
So it looks like we have a question here.
Sure.
From Tyler. Looks like he's asking specifically about how to build detections for these types of tools.
Yeah. Yes. There are. So I need to find a way to build out and work for Metasploit Interpreter. Are there any specific traffic types that are tied to just these tools, or any way to hard target them in your environment? Yes. So like I was saying before, usually if you see anything with a port 4444, that's an indicator of Interpreter. A listening port. If you see for Metasploit, you'll see like MSF Venom. If you see something with the reverse shell, you'll see payloads here for reverse TCP dump. Or also, when you're in Kali Linux and you're using MSF, you can go ahead and look at the payload types.
Are you showing something right now, Doug? Because I don't see your screen up. Yeah,
Sorry.
you want to bring it back up so we can?
Yeah. So you can see the types. I'll show you very quick.
Like the R host kind of stuff you're talking about. Yeah. Right. Okay. 1 second.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So this, you can go ahead and see the reverse TCPs. You can go ahead and look at the different payload types. So I'll show you like how do you want to drop a payload. So right here, the payload that I set is the Windows Interpreter reverse TCP dump for a reverse shell. But there's other payloads. There's also GitHubs too that I can drop in the workshop in the notes that you can go ahead and start building out custom indicators within your security tools like Elasticstack. And you can just run those custom scripts. Like a perfect example is rootkits. So some of the rootkits I have, I can show you this.
Doug's just casually pulling up some rootkits that he has.
Yeah, well, so this is from the exercise, the NATO exercise I was part of. So
cool.
It's right here, if you guys can see it. Let me know what you see.
Get that zoomed in a little bit.
Yeah.
How we do that? Get our faces out. Maybe we can zoom in a little. But yeah.
Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So this right here, the ray.co is kernel object. So it's deeply embedded into the kernel object. This is a rootkit, made up rootkit, obviously, for the exercise. But it was definitely hard to dig into and find this. I mean, even in Kali Linux, for instance, going back to your question, there's ways of finding this. You can do a CHK rootkit, and it's all you have to do is just if I can back out of it, all you have to do is just do a sudo apt get, and then you just install CHK rootkit if it's not already in there. And then yeah, it runs and it checks for any rootkits. If it's a really good adversary that you're going up against, then they are not going to make it easy and obvious. But it's one of the ways that you can go ahead and start looking for, cron jobs. You can look for this was a fake malware, is a final round malware. And then this was through a live response MDE console command. So I was digging in through it and then found the final round in the bin bash. So they embedded a final round file or folder directory inside the user bin bash. And so, yeah, I mean, if that would have progressed, they would have been able to destroy bash. And so they would have it's nasty. So some of the ways that you can go ahead and do these checks is you can do a CHK rootkit if you're looking for rootkits in Kali. You can go ahead and grab some GitHub repositories and directories that people have built out. I can drop those in there. And you just grab the indicators of compromise, the searches, and you can just run it in MDE or Elasticsearch or Splunk or CrowdStrike even. So yeah, I mean, that's some of the ways that you can identify and look for it. But I think the main thing too is when you're running these scripts as a bad guy, as a red teamer, you want to pay attention to what are you doing, how are you creating the malware, because a lot of the payloads, a lot of the shells have indicators inside of it. Like they have keywords of like that will give it away of what it is, like what is the type of attack, what is the indicator that this is, a shell, this is a bootloader, etc. The reason why is you are the ultimate security tool. Automation will fail. Security tools, I've seen it fail. They'll bring up false positives, but they do make it easier in triaging so many attacks. But if you can go ahead and see an indicator of a certain type of attack or injection, then you as the analyst, as a SOC engineer can go ahead and say, oh, hey, this is something suspicious. I think we need to pay attention to this. And you start digging into it and investigating and data gathering. And then now you're like, oh shit, this is bad. This could potentially be very destructive and very bad. And when you're dealing with an organization like a manufacturing ICS or a power plant, that's huge. So it could be a difference between, hey, they're just ransomware billions of dollars, or now a whole power plant has been overloaded and shut down. So yeah, indicators,
IOCs, IOAs, all that good stuff, man. Doug, that was really, really good.
Sorry, I went over.
No, yeah, I know you've always got plenty to share. I know, man.
Passionate, I no doubt. So yeah, makes sense. Does that answer your question?
I think it did. I saw in chat. Tyler said, "Yeah, it's right." He said, "Yeah." So he was asking to share it, but I think his comment right above that is yes. So he did give you a little thank you. So over there, Doug, it looks like you met his question.
I have a quick hot take on that one. I find a lot of people are always trying to catch pen testers, and I personally feel that's just like the wrong mentality. Like you want a pen tester to rattle all of your locks and rattle the doors, so to speak, right? You want them to be able to test freely. It's good to have detections to detect them, But that's not the goal. The goal is to know the level at which somebody has to apply a technique to be successful, right? And I would say more red teaming is what you're thinking about when you want to catch somebody being sleuthy, right? Like, hey, get in my network, get domain admin, be sneaky, be that APT. Red teaming is testing your team, your blue team, and how effective they are. Whereas a pen test is, we're releasing this new app. We want to make sure it doesn't have obvious vulnerabilities and flaws that could be abused in production. Could you please poke and break and be loud as you can across the board to test that, right? I think people sort of get those two blended together. Pen testers in practice aren't meant to be sleuthy, super sneaky types. They're there to test security controls and make sure that things are good for production.
Make all that noise. Yeah, I agree, man. Cool. Okay, well, chat, any other questions right now you've got for Doug? Because we actually have two surprises today. So we actually have someone coming on stage shortly here. But any questions you want to pass over to Doug in the meantime? Yeah, it looks like you're getting some agreements there, Greg, for some distinctions between the two in chat. It's good. Agree.
I feel validated.
Yeah.
My ego's hitting a new level here. So. Awesome. Thank you, Doug. That was a great workshop.
Yeah. Appreciate it, guys.
Really good. Doug, a quick question actually before you go, and then we're going to bring our special guest. But this is actually a good question because you mentioned Lock Shields a couple times, which is a super awesome event that I swear I will try to get with you one day, Doug, myself. How do you get invited? How do you become part of Lock Shields?
So yeah, it's ran by NATO, CC2025. I dropped the link in the workshop. But you have to be invited. You have to be selected. It is obviously, if you're in the US, you have to be in connection with the Army Cyber Command. And yeah, they have to basically ask you and screen you of, hey, why do you want to be involved in this? What qualifications do you have? So I would say it is not for intro to intermediate level. It's mostly they're looking for senior, 7+ years of cybersecurity experience. Do you do threat hunting? Are you good at looking at red teaming? And do you have knowledge of indicators of compromise, indicators of attack, different types of attack, malware? Have you experienced, and defended against different nation state hackers before? What do you have both sides of the coin, basically? And then for the US, I think this past year we had about 30 blue teams and it was about 3 red teams. And it's based in Estonia. And this is all open source, but it's insane. It's 4 months of preparation for 2 weeks on premise in a location. And it's intense. And 2 days of attacks, like I was saying, like 5,250, or more per team, and that was just our team. So it's intense. So that's why they make the requirement of you have to be senior level,
cool,
or above. So.
Thanks, Doug, for covering that. Yeah, definitely a super legit, esteemed, prestigious type of event. Special invite, I heard over there as well, too. So you got to have experience. Live fire sounds insane. That's a lot of prep for a couple days of action, or actually more than a couple days. Doug, thank you again, man, for putting all this together, and the workshop as well, too, and for coming on stream. Looks like people are asking for more experience of your Lock Shield adventures. Maybe another stream we'll get you on for to share some of the stories. Cool. But thank you, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
If anyone else